A cool breeze blew through Sweet Apple Acres, swishing through the bare trees, rattling the few withered leaves that still clutch onto the trees. Winter has taken hold of the farm, the rolling hills dull and subtle, white snow starting to coat them, bearing the signs of the season. The windmill that towers over the farm squeaks softly, the farmhouse windows lit with candles, each one a small vivid glow. The house is still and empty, except for Applejack and Applebloom, both resting on their beds. Applebloom sighed gently, being in bed in an attempt to warm up from playing outside all day. The airs hung heavy in the house, though she'd rather have it that way compared to the biting chill that reigned outside. She looked over to Applejack, a concerned look coming onto her face. Her sister lay there on the other side of the room, covered with a warm blanket, her chest rising and falling gently.
You okay, sis?
Applebloom said, a hint of worry in her voice. Applejack being that quiet, even after hard days of work, was unusual. She pondered. Was her older sister upset? Or maybe something worse? Applejack muffled, giving a slight nod. It was far from the truth, however. The arduous labor was only a straw in the hay bale of stress on her body and mind. Truth being told, even if the work was hard, it was at least something to take her mind off of what was really bothering her.
Just tired and sore,
she says, barely above a whisper. Applebloom's interest grew even more as to what was ailing her sister.
You sure?
Applebloom pried on.
You've been in that bed since you came in. Heck, Big Mac has talked more than you have today.
A moment of silence filled the room. Applejack soon piped up.
Well, I've just been thinking a lot. Don't be going on and worrying about me. I'll be fine.
Applebloom hopped out of bed, her hooves clopping softly on the wooden floor as she made her way to the bedroom door.
Well, I'm gonna go wash up.
Applebloom said, giving a short glance towards her big sister before leaving. Applejack lifted her head and body, sitting up as she looked at the vacant doorway, quickly letting out a heavy sigh. Her hoof finds its way under her blanket, briefly searching before she pulls her hoof out, a time-worn photograph unveiled. Her eyes panned the familiar picture, her face grimacing.
15 years. And I still don't know why.
Applejack says to herself. She had been through heartwarming Eve before, but all the setbacks in Amiga crop this year was only salt to the wound. Because of the poor harvest, heartwarming was going to be scarcer than it already had been in the past, and the thought of a disappointed Applebloom only made Applejack hurt even more.
Oh well.
She sighed, sliding the picture to her hat, which hung on the headboard post.
Just need some sleep. That'll help.
Applejack rolled over to face the wall. The shift makes the bed shake gently, though it's enough to shake the picture free. It swoops and sways as it falls to the floor, unbeknownst to Applejack. Applebloom walked into the bedroom, mane a bit damp from her wash.
Applejack?
No answer.
Must have been a longer bath than I thought.
Applebloom's thought, listening for a second. The house was still and silent.
I thought Big Mac and Granny Smith would be back by now.
She says, Big Mac and Granny Smith having gone into town earlier that day in search of presents. Applejack was fast asleep by now, darkness heavy outside as night moved into its later hours. Applebloom started towards her bed, suddenly halting as she felt something glide beneath her hoof.
Huh? What's this?
She says, raising a brow as she picks it up. Her eyes scan it, seeing two ponies, both looking strikingly familiar. One was a nice sturdy stallion with a red coat and darker orange mane, bearing a cap-pony hat and bandana. The other pony, a beautiful mare, smiles wide, freckles speckled across her cheeks, her mane braided with red ties at the ends.
Where have I seen these ponies?
Applebloom examines even more, flipping the picture over, looking on the back. In faded black ink, almost illegible, is written, Jonathan and Honeycrisp. Applebloom's eyes widen as she gasps.
Mom and Dad!
She squeals out softly. How could she have missed it? They didn't look too much younger than she remembers them from other photographs. Granted, she was young when she had last seen them. She smiles, remembering all the stories she had heard from Applejack, all about how great and caring they were, how they would all play when they got home from school, and about the times when Dad would make funny faces to cheer them up when they were sad. Applebloom looked around, wondering how it got on the bedroom floor in the first place. She looked over to Applejack, then back to the photo, tying the two together. It all made sense, all the quietness and relentless farm work. Applejack must have been missing them something fierce. It wasn't unheard of for her sister to work hard to cope with things, and she knew for a fact Applejack would never share what was bothering her. Applebloom looked at the slumbering Applejack, thinking,
How could I cheer you up?
She asked, sitting on her haunches. She rubs a hoof on her chin, thinking,
Maybe if... Nah.
She murmurs.
Or I could... too boring.
Applebloom rolled onto her back as she looked around, an unexpected idea popping into her head.
Yeah! That's it!
She says with a wide smirk as she grips the photo in her mouth, trotting quietly to her saddlebags before sliding the photograph inside. She happily rushed into bed, looking over to her sister as she pulled her covers up.
I promise, Applejack, you'll never forget this heartwarming.
Applebloom knew where she was heading first thing in the morning, and just the dragon she needed to see. Applejack scrunched her face, staring as she felt the warmth of the sun on her face, the shine coming in through the nearby window. She rubbed her eyes gently, yawning. The night having mended her body and mind a tad, though a soft throb in her head remained. A glance at the clock catches her attention.
I know I was tired, but shoot.
She mumbles to herself, the clock reading a bit past 9 a.m. Next to it, a small calendar, today's state circle with heartwarming Eve in the middle. Applejack huffed at the time, it being mighty late compared to when her usual morning rut begins. A brief stretch later, Applejack worked her way downstairs, making a beeline for the kitchen. Her nose was assaulted with the usual warm smells of a warm down-home breakfast. Oh, Celestia, did she love that smell. And just like a honey to a bee, Granny Smith was there fixing it all together.
Morning, Granny.
Applejack chirped with a gentle smile, pulling a chair out at the table. Granny Smith gave her a short glance.
Hey there, Applejack. How'd you sleep?
Granny Smith replies, intently adjusting her eyes to the stove, steam coming off the cast iron pan as it sizzled and popped.
Like a bear in the winter. What time did you and Big Mac get back?
Applejack asked, fiddling with her silverware.
Oh, I don't know. Around midnight?
That late selling apples?
Applejack laughed a bit.
I didn't think you could stay up that late.
Granny Smith shrugged, a smile stretching across her face.
Well, I did it. Fell asleep in the wagon. Big Mac had to haul me back.
She laughed gingerly. Applejack joined in a soft giggle, looking around the kitchen. She noticed something was out of place, but not exactly what. She looked at the table, seeing all the plates laid out, her eyes falling into a smaller plate. Applebloom, of course. Now that she had thought about it, it had been mighty quiet around the house.
Granny Smith, where's Applebloom at? It's not schooling day.
She says, her brow lowering to a confounded expression. Granny brings some cinnamon rolls over to the tabletop, setting them down.
Oh, no, not at all. Your sister went on over to Twilight's castle. She said something about that Spike feller and a letter.
Applejack recalled back, not guessing such an intention at all.
What? What kind of letter is she trying to write? And for that matter, why'd she need Spike's help?
She says, her voice raised. Not only is it unlike Applebloom to go over there, but if she needs to just write a simple old letter, why'd she need Spike? They had plenty of paper, pencils, and stamps. Granny Smith walked over, taking her seat behind the plate.
No need to get your feathers all ruffling and such. Knowing that feeling, it had to have been of real importance.
Spike grinned as he put his quill down on the table, skimming over the extensive letter. Well, Applebloom, it's done. Spike turned to face Applebloom, who sat in the seat neighboring him. Want me to go ahead and read it back to you? She gave a nod, a determined smile on her face.
Yep, let me hear it.
Spike cleared his throat. Ahem.
Dear Princess Luna, my name is Applebloom. I'm writing you about my big sister, Applejack. You remember her, right? The element of honesty? Well, she's been missing our parents for a long while. They passed a long time ago. And after thinking about it, I want to do something special for her. It may be a lot to ask, but I have one simple heart-warming wish I want to come true. I want my sister to have a special dream tonight, since it's Heartwarming Eve. One she'll never forget. One where she gets to see our mom and Dad again. One where she can relive the past and enjoy things I'm sure she misses an awful lot. She sure has earned such a present. I don't care if I don't get any presents, as long as my sister gets to truly be happy, even if it is for only a little while. It's all that matters to me. With love and apples, Applebloom.
Applebloom nodded.
Well, sounds good enough. Hope it's not too plain or nothing.
Spike rolled it up, putting the picture Applebloom had brought along in the roll as he did so. Oh, don't you worry. You spoke what you felt and truly wanted. That's all you need to do. He ties a sapphire blue ribbon around the roll, holding it out as he looked at it. Applebloom stood up, taking her book bag and slinging it on, her mind diligent as she pondered.
I just want Applejack to be happy after this little funk she's been in. I know she's an apple, but still.
She says, hopping out of her seat onto the floor.
Now might as well give her a shot. Send it.
Spike took a deep breath before the green fire enveloped the scroll, and just like that, it was off. Spike climbed down off of the chair, smiling towards Applebloom reassuringly. Don't worry, if I know Luna, she would have no problem granting your wish. A small frown came to him as he saw Applebloom's head lower, eyes closed. Spike walked over and hugged her tenderly. Look, Applebloom, I know it has a lot of weight you're counting on. Your sis is a hard-working pony that deserves what you want for her, but remember, you mean more than any gift in the world to her. You being you is the greatest gift you could give. Spike gave a firm nod, moving next to her as they both started to walk out. Applebloom looked to the side.
I know. But I want to be the one to do something for her for once. She breaks her back every day for me. I just want to give her something she really wants. Heck, something she needs.
Snowflakes fluttered down gently onto the ground, heart-swimming day only a few hours away now. Applejack entered the bathroom, needing some water on her face, still unbeknownst to the fact that the whereabouts of her favorite photo have changed. Work. Hauling hay, bucking trees, gathering water from the well. What else would she do? Not to mention the light snow on the ground didn't help at all. She hadn't a choice in the matter, it had to be done. Her hooves ached as she dipped them into the sink, splashing her face, the warm water heavenly.
Come on, Applejack. It's hearth warming tomorrow. Just
She took a deep breath, exhaling shakily.
relax.
She rested her hooves on the sink as she looked into the mirror hanging in front of her. The stress on her face and the red in her eyes spoke more than any fancy words could. Applejack grabbed a small towel, dabbing her face to dry it. With a small nod to the mirror, she headed off to bed. Applebloom had gone to bed early. Oh, Applebloom. Applejack had pestered and prided her as to why she had gone all the way to Twilight's for a little letter. Though Applebloom had never said why, she insisted it wasn't nothing. Applejack brushed it off eventually, more concerned now with sleep than an explanation. She took her hat off, putting it on the bedpost. She wanted to just dive into the bed. Wishful thinking, she thought. Sliding out of the cover slowly, the aches in her bones rang out through her. A slave to fruits of her labor was nothing new, but that was the hitch. It wasn't new, it was the story of her life. But as much as it hurt, she wouldn't have it any other way. She was an apple. With a final sigh, Applejack settled into bed. The sheets were soft and embracing. The down in her pillow seemed that much better. She cracked a soft smile, yawning as she rolled onto her side, facing Applebloom.
Oh, Sugar Cube.
She said to herself, watching her younger sister sleep soundly. She wasn't far behind, soon feeling her eyes get heavy. It only took a couple of minutes before sleep took Applejack as well. Applejack's eyes blinked open, light seeping through a cracked door across the room. Was it already morning? She rubbed her head, her eyes tweaking slowly to the low light of the room.
What
She says faintly.
was that door? It's supposed to be over the...
Applejack stops instantly. The room. It was her old room.
How?
A dumbstruck look written on her face.
This is a storage room now.
She swiftly threw the blankets off of her. It was true, this room was changed to storage years ago, so full of old junk that no pony could take as much as a step inside. But before then, it was her old room. With a swift trot to the door, Applejack jerked the door open. Before her was the den. The layout stumped her.
How'd that old couch get back in here? And that chair? That broke a leg off.
Applejack wiped her brow. How was all of this back?
I must be going crazy.
She says.
Nay, I believe thou is more than sound.
Applejack looked behind her, a gasp slipping out of her. Before her was Luna, coming down the stairs with a lenient smile. Her mane shimmered, her body lit with a soft aura of light that radiated off of her. Applejack tipped her hat in greeting to Luna.
Oh, Princess Luna, am I glad to see you. Do you know what's going on around here? Everything's different.
She asked, bewildered, looking around.
Thou shalt thank thy little sister for that.
Luna said with a as-a-matter-of-fact tone. Applejack raised a brow.
What? Applebloom? What does she have to do with all this?
Everything. I received a letter from her earlier today. She bid one thing for heart's warming. She wanted thee to have what thou hast sought the most, and I thought it was worthy of my actions.
Luna walked into the den, Applejack tagging close behind. Applejack was stumbling over the thought that her little sister had something to do with this strange situation.
What exactly did she want?
Applejack suspiciously asked. Luna turned to face her, standing next to a mantel, old family pictures lined it graciously.
She inquired for thee to have a pleasant dream of days long ago. She felt you had earned it, but don't heed my word. Ask them.
Applejack hears a soft giggle from behind her. A repressed memory in her mind sparked. She recognized it. She turned her head slowly, her heart sinking. She tried to speak, but nothing came out.
Howdy, Applejack.
A deep voice bellows. There behind her stood her mother and father. Both smiled wide, looking just like she remembered. Her mother had the same mane braid. Her father had the same bandana as always. Even the sweet scent of his favorite cologne was there. Luna walked to Applejack's side, standing proud next to her.
Applebloom wishes for ye to see thy parents once again.
She pointed a hoof at them.
They are just memories, yes, but you can do anything in your dream.
Luna paused, giving a slight nod.
They are as real as you believe.
Applejack took a couple of steps forward, not knowing what to say. Her skin burned with excitement, the sound of her heart beating loudly in her ears. Her mother stepped forward.
My! How you have grown!
She says with a large smile. Her father nodded.
Almost as big as I am.
A soft baritone chuckle escaping. Applejack moved closer, not saying anything as she darted to them, pulling them into a tight hug. Their warmth rushed through her, making her shake like a leaf.
I missed y'all so much.
She says, emotion powering over her. Her parents returned the embrace, holding her tightly. A single tear rolled down Applejack's face. Oh, how she has yearned and begged to be able to do this again.
Sorry I'm getting so sappy here. Just happy.
As if that word could do everything, she is feeling justice. Her mother grinned.
I know what will cheer you right up. A nice warm good old fritter.
Applejack nodded rapidly.
You know that's my favorite.
Her mother moved and trotted off to the kitchen, her father following close behind as he playfully chased her mother. Applejack turned to Luna, almost forgetting her presence.
I wanted to thank you, Luna, for everything.
Applejack tried to save a little face, a hoof coming to wipe her eye. Luna shook her head softly, leaning down the orange mare.
I do believe thou shalt thank Applebloom.
Applejack smiled.
I will, but without your understanding, this wouldn't have been. It does my heart some good, and it is much appreciated.
Honeycrisp called from the kitchen.
Applejack! You better come on and get yourself some fritter, for your daddy goes on and eats it all.
Applejack shook her head with a gentle smile, giving a glance up to Luna.
Well, I better go and enjoy while it lasts. Thank you.
With a final wink, Applejack ran off laughing.
If I get him there and there ain't no fritter left.
Luna giggled gently, knowing her work here had been done. With a flash of light, she headed off to other dreams, leaving the apples to each other for a long overdue night. In Applejack's room hung her hat, dangling on the bedpost where she had left it, the corner of a small, worn photograph poking out from inside.